All right, welcome back to another one of our film reviews. Today we are talking new Detroit Lions linebacker Grant Stuard. Stuart emerged as a playmaker for this Detroit defense in their first preseason game. Great signing for the Lions to help fill out their defense and special teams unit. And we'll break down everything Stuart did so well for Detroit and why he will be an impact player going forward for this Lions D. As always, leave us with any comments below, with any players you want us to break down. Also with any feedback, we'd really appreciate it. But without further ado, let's jump right into the film. All right, let's start with the massive play made by Grant Stuard. There he is in the middle of your screen. You talk about a heat-seeking missile, guys, at the linebacker position. Grant Stuard brings it every single play. So right here, we're going to have a play-action pass by the Chargers. So they're going to sell run initially at the snap just to try and get linebackers to fill and step up. We're going to get a play action here. Stuard right here, number 15, middle of your screen. I don't know if he's supposed to blitz or if he thinks it's a run and then it becomes a passing situation, so he just ends up in the backfield. But he does an incredible job finding through a block and making the play. Love this kind of effort from the linebacker. Let's check it out. All right, there's a snap. There's the play action. You can see Stuart firing right there in the middle of your screen. I don't know if this was a design blitz. I tend to think it is, or if he just feels like it's a run and he sees the center go that way, the guard go that way, and say, oh, they're going to run it right at me. I got to fill. But he fires through. Running back then, pass pro, does a great job picking it up. Nice work by 28 for the Chargers. But watch Stuart, right? He doesn't give up on the play. Gets up and gets a really athletic quarterback down on the ground for a big sack. You talk about playmaking ability, folks. That's what Grant Stuard brings. We know he's a good special teams player, special teams ace. But I tell you what, Lions fans, you talk about a do-it-all kind of linebacker, depth piece, a guy to fill out your defense and special teams unit. You could do almost no better than Grant Stuard. He's a playmaker. He's a hustle guy. He fires to the football. I talk about a heat-seeking missile. We'll go through the rest of this cut-up. All this guy does is fly around and make plays. For the most part, he does it under control. There's a few things he needs to clean up. But when you watch this kind of stuff, Lions fans, you got to get excited. Dan Campbell kind of player here for Detroit. All right, from the wide copy, look at Stuart right there again at the linebacking position. I think this is a design blitz. You see how he starts shuffling before the snap? I think that means it's a design, or he just reads run or thinks it's going to be run. But regardless, he fires through, gets picked up. Right here, 99 out of 100 linebackers, the play's over, right? Oh, I got cut on the ground, the play's done. He gets up on his feet, puts his foot in the ground, gets on his high horse, and sacks a really athletic quarterback. Again, I can't get over his effort. I can't get over his playmaking ability, his reckless abandon. It's hard with his hair not to get reminded a little bit of a Troy Polamalu thing going on. Now, again, Polamalu, much better player certainly than Stuart has proven to this point. But I tell you what, in terms of the energy, the athleticism, the high motor and playmaking ability, he does give some comparisons. I know it's preseason. I know it's very, very high praise. But when you look at what Stuart can bring for this Detroit Lions defense, I tell you what, folks, he does a lot and will do a lot going forward. All right, going with the run defense now. There's Stuart right there, number 15 on the right side of your screen. So the Chargers are going to run standard inside zone stuff, and Stewart's been around the block. He's seen a lot of this stuff before. So the Chargers are going to bring a man in motion pre-snap, and they're going to bring this guy, this H-back, at the snap to cut the backside defender. This motion right here is to get these linebackers to sit and maybe even flow a little bit that way. That's the design as they try and run a standard zone scheme this way to get bodies on bodies. Again, have this H-back cut behind right here, and have the running back work this way and then eventually cut up just like this. But Stewart, he's seen it all before. He knows exactly what's coming. He diagnoses it and just plays the game at such a higher speed than everybody else. It's really crazy to behold. Let's check it out. All right, here comes the motion. There's a snap. You can see the H-back coming across the formation. You can see the motion right there. You can see offensive line working to the left side of your screen. They're right doing that zone track. Watch Stewart's speed. Watch what he does, right? He sees the motion. He knows what's coming immediately. You see 52's kind of frozen there a little bit. You know, he's not exactly sure what's going on. Stewart, he knows what's coming. He knows this is a run concept. Fights through the tackle, fights through everyone, and gets part of the tackle. This is unbelievable. He is the backside linebacker here, and he ends up beating the middle linebacker to the spot to make the play. Let's look at this again. This is absolutely bonkers. This is Ahmed Hassanin, who we covered before. Really good young defensive end. Really like him for the Lions. He meets Ahmed Hassanin. The plays literally run right here, right next to this young defensive end. And you look at Stewart, he basically gets there at the same time. He goes about 15 yards in the same amount of time it takes Hassanin to go about 2. Look at this. At the same time. This is bonkers level athleticism, bonkers level intelligence. You talk about motor, you talk about speed, playmaking ability. This is what you talk about here from Grant Stuard.
Yeah, Nick, and I love that Stewart's playing the run so well early on. Coming out of college, he was a safety, so coverage has always been one of his strengths through his years in the NFL. But now he's growing as a run defender, had one of his best years last year, 70.1 grade. Really good start for Grant Stuard.
All right, I talk about Stewart being a ballistic missile or heat-seeking missile or whatever kind of missile you want, and there he is right there on the right side of your screen. This is the quintessential example, the quintessential Grant Stuard play. So this is absolutely bonkers. So it's going to be another play action right here, and Stewart fires, and again, I don't think it's a blitz. I think he's reading run. He recognizes it's a pass. He drops back into his zone coverage. I think it's cover 2 zone, so he's got to get in his hook curl kind of zone. Recognizes it's a throw way over here, and then gets on his high horse and beats a lot of people over to the spot. This is just bonkers level stuff from the linebacker. Love to see this kind of thing. It's really cool to watch. Let's check it out. All right, there's a snap. You can see Stewart firing. You know how I mentioned before how I thought that was on the very first play, how I thought maybe it wasn't a design blitz? Because when he fires this aggressively and this quickly, it looks like a design, but it may be just him playing football. But regardless, right there, he recognizes, oh crap, it's a pass. So he sprints immediately into his hook curl, sees the quarterback, right? He's turned his shoulder, sees the quarterback, throw the other way, foot in the ground, sprint to the sideline, be a part of the tackle. This is incredible stuff, guys. Look at where the other linebackers are, right? The other linebacker right here, he's the guy that's his zone or close to his zone, close to his hook curl zone in a cover 2 defense. He gets there at the same time, maybe a step faster than Grant Stuard, who prior to all this stuff here, right here, literally blitzed, saw it was a pass, got into his opposite hook curl zone, saw the throw going the other way, turned direction, and got there pretty much at the same time. Next level speed, next level athleticism, crazy stuff. Like his film is absolutely insane. And I know it's preseason and I know it's a lot of backups, but this is the kind of athleticism and playmaking ability that just jumps off the screen. You can't teach this kind of stuff, folks. This is an under the radar addition for Detroit. All right, for the wide copy, you can see Stewart right there. It looks absolutely crazy. So he sees the center go that direction. He sees the left guard kind of stay over here. So he sees this hole, so he fires. And right there, he recognizes, oh, crap, it's not run, it's a pass. So he gets into his hook curl zone, right? You can see the cover 2 look there. You can see the 2 corners, the 2 deep safeties, linebacker running down the middle. You got the hook curls from the linebackers, right? Classic cover 2, Tampa 2 stuff. Stuff that's been done and ran all day, every day. So the quarterback here hits the check down. That would be the corner and this linebacker's responsibility 99 times out of 100. So they run over there, and look who meets him there. Grant Stuard, who literally, folks, watch how far he ran. I'm going to try and do this math in my head. So he runs 5 yards blitzing, 5 yards back, and then what? 35, 40 yards. He runs 50 yards, about the same amount of time it takes this linebacker to go about 20, right? You talk about effort, you talk about speed. Absolutely great work right here from Grant Stuard. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. All right, Grant Stuard, and there he is right there, number 15 at the linebacker position. The first few plays in the sequence were all these crazy highlight, just awesome athletic plays. But the question for Stuard, for when you have any kind of player of his caliber with that kind of incredible athleticism and motor, can you do the routine plays? Can you do the expected plays, the check the box plays, the plays you have to make if you're going to play linebacker? And this is a great example of this. Stewart's going to just drop into coverage. We're going to get a little curl right here, right in front of the quarterback. It's a long yardage situation. He recognizes, reacts, makes the tackle, no yak, clean play, check in the box. Let's check it out. All right, there's a snap. You can see Stewart drop into the zone coverage. You can see right there, settles down right in front of the quarterback, the tight end, immediately tackled on the ground, no yards after contact. Is this a highlight play? No, absolutely not even close. Just checking the box, right? Again, Stewart is a playmaker. He plays with reckless abandon and high energy. And we'll bring up one time in this sequence where it actually hurts him a little bit. But right here, he just does his job. This is the kind of play you have to make. If you're going to be a quality linebacker or really play any linebacker in the NFL, when you have a zone right in front of you, the guy catches the football, make the play, try and swipe at the football, get him on the ground, no yards after contact. Checking the box, right? It's not a big thing. It's not going to make the headlines. It's not going to, get on SportsCenter or anything like that. But it's just good, solid, fundamental football, part of the Grant Stuard package.
Yeah, and can you talk about fundamentals? I think this is something that we're starting to see out of Grant Stuard. This guy, early on, he's built throughout his career. He's really gotten into a good rhythm early on when he started with Tampa. Not a whole lot of play time. I think he had 2 snaps that whole season. Then moves on to Indy the first year, 32 snaps. Now, finally, last year, 229 snaps that season. Seems like this is a guy that's growing the more and more snaps he's getting to play. It looks like early on with Detroit, he's getting a lot of time in preseason, looking really good. I think Grant Stuard is the guy who's going to grow and develop even more into the season.
All right, we're just going to this next play pretty quick. There's Grant Stuard, of course, at the linebacker. The Chargers are driving to score. They're at the 5-yard line. You can see the goal line is only a few yards away. Quarterback Trey Lance here fumbles the snap. He falls on it. You see Grant Stuard right here. He's going to just kind of come in here and clean it up. But I want you guys to watch the way he plays the game. He dives head first, kamikaze pilot. I don't know. I run out of adjectives to describe him. He's an absolutely throwback kind of player. throwing his body in there. He's just reckless abandon. Everything you love about football, that's what Grant Stuard brings. Kind of a simple play, doesn't make a lot of things here happen. But again, just his mentality and his effort just shines every time he's on the football field. Let's check it out. All right, there's a snap, ball on the ground, quarterback picks it up, goes down, nothing special, right? But let's look at Grant Stuard here. Watch the way he plays. Right here, he's stepping up to fill against the run. Remember, when goal line situation, he sees the fumble, he sees the quarterback pick it up. He dives head first, reckless abandon. Look at all these other guys for the Lions, right? They're kind of, I mean, I don't mean to be mean to any of these guys, but kind of, throwing their bodies in there, going for routine tackles, just jumping on the pile, right? Maybe trying to rip the football out, which is fine. Nothing terribly wrong about that. But look at Stewart, leaving his feet, throwing his body, contorting his body. Right? This is a guy who plays with such reckless abandon. It's the preseason. It's a Hall of Fame game. It's a fumble on the ground. The quarterback is picking up, just trying to fall down, and Stewart is diving headfirst in like it's 4th down in the Super Bowl. You talk about a culture guy, a mentality guy. That's the kind of guy Grant Stuard is. All right, Grant Stuard, and there he is right there on the left side of your screen. You can barely see him. He's almost off the edge right there. Stuard makes a lot of great plays with his athleticism and his motor and everything we've highlighted in the sequence, but sometimes it can get him in trouble. He plays sometimes with a little too much reckless abandon and needs to dial it back in some key situations, and this play is a good example of that. So the Chargers are going to do here is they're going to try and block down everyone, anchor down here on the backside. They're going to pull the guard to kick out the defensive end, and the running back's going to follow just like this. Now, in this situation, Grant Stuard has a chance, when it's all said and done, to blow up the running back at the point of attack. He's coming blitzing off the edge. The problem, he comes up the field too fast, too aggressively, that he actually overruns the play, right? He basically ends up 5 yards past everybody in like a second and a half, right? This is a situation where Stuart dial it back just a hair. Let's check it out. All right, there's a snap. You can see the down blocks from the Chargers offensive line. You can see the backside guard pulling, right? He's wrapping around. Look right here at Stewart coming off the edge. Just totally eats it, right? He plays with such reckless abandon, so much speed. He ends up running past everyone. He's at another speed, another level. Look at where he ends up, guys. He starts at this 5-yard denominator. He ends up going about 6-7 yards up and 2 yards to the right. So we'll call that what? Call it 7-8 yards before it's all said and done. He goes 8 yards. Look what this running back is. Before the running back goes like 3. That's super fast, high motor, high athleticism. That's awesome. Just with a little more control, right? A little bit more control. You just have to go maybe a quarter beat slower, and you make this as a tackle for loss. And Stuart makes a lot of plays, and we've showed some of the plays he's made. So you don't want to lose any of that, but you do want to contain some of this hyper aggression just a little bit, so that way you can turn opportunities like this into tackles for loss.
Yeah, and can we talk about Grant? I think one thing for Stewart that's really been good is his accountability. We know this preseason game for the Lions wasn't absolutely a stellar performance by any means, but I think one thing Dan Campbell loves about Stewart that he talked about is Stewart was the first guy to come up in press conference and take accountability, saying the team has to get better, make plays. So even though this is a guy fresh face to the team, you see his athleticism, his ability to get to the ball. But he's also taking a leadership role as well. Really great sign for Stewart early on.
All right, let's go back to some more good stuff for Grant Stuard, and there he is at the linebacker position. So we're going to get a little motion right here for the Chargers pre-snap, and essentially it's going to be a power concept. We're going to get down blocks here, double team here, down block here. We're going to get anchor down here on the backside. Backside guard's going to pull, and we're going to get this H-back going in motion. He's going to lead through just like this. So the way he ends up working before it's all said and done, we get double team right here working to the backside. We get a down block here. We have this H-back here working to this defensive end, and we have this guard pulling to lead basically at the hole for Grant Stuard. And a lot of times the way these power concept works is this linebacker's a little slow-footed, and they make contact maybe a yard behind the line of scrimmage, maybe at the line of scrimmage. Stuart plays in such a level, he makes contact 2 yards deep in the line of scrimmage, right? It's absolutely bonkers. You've got this guard pulling around thinking he's going to lead the way, and he gets absolutely blasted by Stuart right at the point of attack. It's an incredible job from the linebacker. Really love his effort, his athleticism. It's just awesome to watch. Let's check it out. There's the motion. There's a snap. We can see the down block double team right there. We can see H-back come for the defensive end, wraps him inside. That's going pretty good for the Chargers so far. But watch Grant Stuard. Watch him just fill and get downhill and attack the pulling guard. Look where he is, folks. I can't get over how rare this is, right? They start a yard past this 5-yard denominator. I think this is the 20-yard line, so we'll call that the 19. So the ball snapped at the 19. Where does Stuart make contact? The 20, 21, 2 yards deep behind the line of scrimmage. You talk about resetting the line of scrimmage. We normally mean that for defensive linemen, right? Blowing things up, getting penetration, driving offensive linemen back. But Stewart's downhill aggressive play, he's got a nose for contact. Bang, shunks the guard right there. That's resetting the line of scrimmage. Now, one thing that's not ideal is if this guard bounced it outside, maybe he would be the contain and maybe it would get blown up. But when you set the line of scrimmage just like this, it forces these running backs to see a lot of color, a lot of enemy right in their face, and they got to jump around. They got to abandon ship, and they just got to start doing crazy stuff. And when running backs do that, bad things usually happen for them, like we see here. Not a good job by the Chargers offense, not a great play. Grant Stuard plays at a whole nother gear. Like, it's absolutely crazy to watch. I know I've said that a bunch in this film sequence, but I've almost never seen a linebacker play like this. So much physicality, so much aggression, changing the way the game is normally played. This guy, again, he's probably not going to be a starter, probably not going to get a lot of scrimmage reps, but when he does play, he'll make an impact for this Lions defense. All right, from the wide copy, you get a really good look at it right here. Watch the snap. Watch where contact is made right there. So even if the running back tried to bounce it, there was a chance maybe you could scoot outside Stewart right there. But he's so deep in the backfield that right here, when the running back sees this, that's so close to him and so much penetration, the running back would have to bubble so far out that he would pretty much lose all momentum and negate any advantage bouncing it outside. This is what happens. Resetting the line of scrimmage, aggressively throwing your body in there, and then going through contact like it's nothing, right? It's not like he's aimlessly throwing his body around and then getting killed or pancaked or anything like that. He's throwing his body around, resetting the line of scrimmage, and then fighting through these blocks instantaneously to get around the tackle. Great work from 15. All right, let's end on a run defense play, and there's Grant Stuard right there, number 15 on the right side of your screen. So on the previous play, I talked about Stuard resetting the line of scrimmage so much that if the running back had decided to run his direction, he would have had to bubble out wide to the point where Stuart's teammates, his Lions teammates, would have been able to make the play. On this play, that's exactly what happened. So the Chargers here, they run another power concept. We get double teams right here between the right guard and right tackle, working up to the backside linebacker. We get the center blocking back. We get the tight end blocking down, trying to wash defensive end inside. Backside guard looping around right here to try and pin Stewart, and the running back following just like this. Now, once again, Stewart here resets the line of scrimmage with the speed and athleticism. He sees the double team. He sees the block down. He flies off the corner just like this, forcing the running back to bubble outside right into his Lions teammates, prevents a touchdown. Let's check it out. All right, there's a snap. We can see the double team working to the backside linebacker right there. We can see the tight end blocking down number 61. You can see the backside guard pulling around to get to Stewart. Again, Stewart flying upfield, gets to the guard this time because the running back's already passes him. He jumps outside, forces the running back to bubble out right into his teammate, makes the play, no touchdown. Now, again, you like this corner here to be a little bit more aggressive, right? He kind of receives a lot of the punishment, to be totally honest. But again, Grant Stuard doing his job, forcing the running back to bubble right here. Why not? Look how horizontal the running back has to go. Remember, let's look where the ball is snapped, guys. Pretty crazy stuff. So the ball is snapped at the 6-yard line. Look how long the running back has to stay at like the 10. This is 4 yards deep in the backfield, right? Has to widen out that far to the point where the corner here can make the play. And even though he gets kind of pummeled at the cornerback position, he's still well short of the goal line. Nice defense from Stewart. All right, from the wide copy, you can see how far downhill Stewart gets. See how quickly this running back has to bubble? That's what you want to do. You want to cause chaos for the offense, and that's what Stewart is. He's a heat-seeking missile, ballistic missile, chaos agent for opposing defenses and opposing special teams unit. He plays the game the right way. He's physical. He stays on his feet, except for one or two instances like we highlighted in this cut-up. He'll get a little over his skis, but for the most part, he is a controlled chaos agent. Right here, this guard's looking to block him, but by the time the guard gets out there, Stewart's already long gone, helps bubble the running back well short of the goal line. You talk about a quality defender, a key piece of this Lions defense, a depth piece. We know injuries hurt the Lions last year. I wouldn't be surprised if Stewart earned some playing time on his own for this defense, certainly on special teams. But if injuries do happen, Detroit fans, you should feel pretty good having a guy like number 15 filling out your defense.